Mm.
63-meter yacht, Greek islands, 2 weeks. Really
Wow.
nice money. And I thought, wow, that sounds great. That will pay my next year's school fees in just
Yeah.
2 weeks.
That's- Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to 20s Talks, the unspoken truth, your go to podcast for all things 20s. I hope everyone's been doing okay. And on today's episode, I have a special guest with me. I have Ella, who is a super yacht nanny. And we're just going to be having a conversation, getting to know her, how she got into her position, what she's doing. So, yeah. Ella, do you want to introduce yourself here?
Hi, Stephanie. Yes, hi. It's really lovely to be here. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm such a avid podcast listener, so it's really lovely
Yeah.
to be invited to have a chat. So yeah, I'm Ella, based in the UK, but working internationally as a super yacht nanny. And yeah, I realized recently I've been doing it for nearly a decade, which
Oh,
makes me
wow.
feel old.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but yeah, I really love doing it and excited to chat to you more about it.
Yeah, so I'm just starting a series where I'm just going to be talking to people who have kind of different careers than the norm that I would usually see. So Ella's going to be the first guest on the mini series that I'm doing because when I saw that she was a super yacht nanny, I had never heard of that before. It was something I was like, super yacht nanny. That's something I had never heard of, and I'm sure like many people out there too, you guys probably you've never heard of that. So it's just I'm doing this series to just give everyone kind of like a idea of like there's something out there, something different that everyone can kind of get into. So now with that being said, I just wanted to ask you, Ella, can you just tell us a bit of your history? Like how did you get started in this like super yacht nanny world? Like just a bit of what led you into this career path.
Absolutely. Because I really, really love the concept of the podcast because there's so many great things out there that are not
Mm,
the typical path. Like school
yeah.
really, you have to make life decisions so young. Then schools often really push university and like kind
Mm,
of vet, medic, Cambridge, Oxford directions because
yeah.
yeah, they're great, they're fantastic, no shade to them at all,
Yeah.
but there's space for a lot of other things that are
Mm,
equally fantastic.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I knew I was never really stupid, but I also
Mm,
knew I wasn't going to go to university like
yeah.
straight away. So I figured, I'll take a gap year because then everyone's going to kind of get off my case for a little
Yeah,
while.
that's true. Yeah.
So I had a place at Coventry University to study in blah 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 the risk management,
Oh.
which I think is a really cool thing to do, and I care a lot about the planet and climate change and uh, yeah, social courses as well. So it is a really nice course. I haven't been, but I do think it's a really nice course. So I kind of went for this gap year. I left home 2 weeks after prom, and I was ready to get out the country.
Mm,
Obviously, this was pre-Brexit, so things were a bit easier. And
yeah.
I'd grown up. I was born in New Zealand, but I grew up in the UK, in a small town on the river in Suffolk. So I've always been sailing, love the water. I'm always out swimming or doing something. Um, and basically, my dad's best friend worked in the super yacht industry, so we used to go and stay with him a lot in France, in Antibes, in the summers. So I'd always like understood the industry and kind of how it works and what's expected. So I went out to become a stewardess.
Mm,
63-meter yacht, Greek islands, 2 weeks. Really
wow.
nice money. And I thought, wow, that sounds great. That will pay my next year's school fees in just
Yeah.
2 weeks.
That's
This is
wow, that's
like
crazy.
really, really great. But the one problem with it was that it fell over final week of exams. So I was like,
Mm,
pass the exams, don't know if I can pay for school next year.
yeah.
Go and make money, pay for school, and have a great job, hopefully. Don't know if they're going to let me in without exams. So I
Mm,
went to the dean and I was really quite stressed and said, like, explain the situation. And he quite simply said, Ella, I cannot understand why you're stressed. And I thought, okay, what's going to happen here? Um, and he said, it's quite simple. unsubscribe from the exams, do the job,
Mm.
come back, do resit week, don't fail, and keep going.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. That's really quite simple. So I did that. This family, I don't work for them anymore because unfortunately, this children have a really annoying habit of growing up and no longer needing childcare, which I can't really do too much about. But otherwise, I worked for them for years and they were great. And so that kind of kick-started me off as a super yacht nanny because
Yeah.
it's a really tiny part of the industry, like really tiny,
Mm.
but it's uh it's great. Like I love it so much. You really get to make the children's experience so exciting, so safe, so like the incredible memories you can be a part of. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's really tough work and it's long hours and it's demanding and everything, but for me it's completely worth it.
Mm.
So this was a ultra high net worth client. Unfortunately, well, kind of fortunately for me, but unfortunately on the whole, a lot of these jobs are can be seen as like based on who your references are, like, oh, if you've worked for them,
Mm.
we want you to work for us kind of
Okay.
mentality. So I started doing that, and then I also got a few more jobs that summer. And then basically, because the uni terms matched up with the school terms, it's holidaying at the same time, so it all fitted together quite nicely. And I just didn't stop because I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just wanted to ask because I know you were mentioning like the hours. So I would say those are probably like some challenges. What would you say are like some of the biggest challenges you faced like in this role?
um, yeah, it's definitely a challenging job for a lot of people. They aren't like used to working 16-hour days consistently for 2 weeks.
Mm.
That gets tough. I also had a job where they didn't really understand that I needed to shower as a person. So I've got it down to a shampoo and condition and kind of blow dry shower in 3.5 minutes, which is like rocket sweet. You have to have your clothes ready to go again and the
Everything ready.
hairdryer plugged in. But basically it does work if you're super fast. Um,
Yeah.
but working with crew is like that's something I now teach in coaching. Is how to work with crew because obviously I understand both sides, and it can get a bit tricky because you're actually all on the same team and you just need to convey that. I'd say a really tricky part is finding the work because it's really
Mm.
niche, and
Yeah.
it's quite cool, and so therefore it's really competitive. Other challenges of the job I would say are, I wouldn't say demanding clients because if they're on a family charter, they're normally wanting to be with their family and they're on holiday. It's not the usual setup. So, I mean, I've worked with some really lovely clients, so I can't say that. Just like being there while not being there because sometimes they want family time, but they kind of need you, but they don't really need you. But it's a
Yeah.
boat, there's nowhere to kind of run to or like to get out of the way quietly because that just doesn't work. Yeah, I'd say they're the main ones.
The maintenance, yeah. So on a typical like day to day, like what does your day to day kind of look like? Like how is your day to day in the role?
Yeah, sure. So wake up times are basically never set, often because I work with a lot of American clients. The
Oh,
children
okay.
are experiencing quite a lot of jet lag, so you just don't
Yeah.
know. So I get up really early, and also I like to have a bit of breakfast with a bit of peace and quiet and a coffee. So if I get up, be ready to go. So if they need me, I'm there. Have a bit of breakfast, so that's kind of done before 6:15, 6:30, and then whenever the children get up, do breakfast with them. um yeah, then kind of we normally have a breakfast round two when the parents then wake up, and then the children often will sit with them and eat a bit more, like a croissant or something,
Oh,
then
okay.
get on with some water sports. It's really nice to do water sports in the morning because the sea is normally a bit calmer and the sun a bit little less intense, but sometimes it's just really hot. And then if we're going out for a lunch or for an ice cream or something, then yeah, head to shore, but often we'll stay on board. Then do more water sports or do some arts and crafts in the afternoon. I like to do arts and crafts or something, or Lego or play games or
Yeah.
something inside after lunch because it's so hot and they need a bit of downtime. Otherwise, children just become so
Yeah.
exhausted. Um, because it's just such big days outside. Then normally a bit more time in the water. Maybe there's a pool on board or a jacuzzi, or back doing some jet skiing or do you know what a sea bob is? Sea bob is like a
Mm,
thing that goes underwater. It's like
okay.
a little jet ski, but it's handheld, so like pulls you around in the water, and you can kind of um duck
Okay.
dive
I
with
think I
it
may
and
have
things.
seen.
It's really
Okay,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah. And then dinner time, and then a movie sometimes, and then bed. Um, so yeah, normally I'm not finishing before 10 p.m.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
So I
like
know,
when
I
I say
know,
big days, I really mean big days.
yeah, because I know earlier you mentioned like it can be like demanding. So how do you kind of balance that out with like your own personal life and the job as well?
When I'm working on board, I have no life. Like my friends all know she's probably alive and she's probably okay. We'll text her to check she's okay, but we're not going to expect anything until she's
Response,
back.
yeah.
Then because it is so intense and I know that I
Mm,
need balance in my life, I purposely won't book trips back to back. Like
yeah.
I've done 24-hour turnarounds before. As a stewardess,
Wow.
they're pretty common. But as a nanny, I like will make my calendar work because I know I need to just sit in my garden, read a book, and be a
Yeah.
bit calm and eat something nutritious because often I will end up eating kids. Obviously, there's the best chefs in the world on board. Like the food options are amazing, but I would often end up eating kids' food just to make things
Kids.
easier. And then at some point, chicken nuggets and chips doesn't really give you much nutritional value, and
No.
you get really quite sluggish, and it's just not that nice. So yeah,
Yeah. And what would you say you love the most about like being a super yacht nanny?
being a part of the memory, creating the memories. Like some of
Mm,
the trips I've done is just like wow, like it's once in a lifetime things for me, but
yeah.
for the family completely as well. Like I did a charter recently, and well, not that recently actually, and they had a barge come out to the boat to do a private fireworks show, and the last
Wow.
firework was the initial of the family. And I've got like a
So
little girl
beautiful.
who's a little bit scared, but she really wants to be there, cuddling me. And we're sitting on bean bags
Oh,
on the foredeck by the helicopter pad. And it's just like, this is so cool. And I think she'll remember that for the rest of her life. Well, I hope she does.
yeah.
I definitely will.
Hope- Hopefully, she probably will. Because I know kids do remember like stuff that even you think that they don't remember. Because they probably remember all those memories. Yeah.
Yeah, and kids pick up on like the smallest details of things that you think, oh, they won't notice that. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, but Ella, what about that? And we're like, ah,
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. They do. They will say they do
Yeah, you got
notice
to have
it.
your A game on all the time.
What would you say the perks of the job?
Traveling the world, by
Yeah.
super yacht, the people you meet, the stories you hear, the experiences you get to be part of, like going to a Dior pop up in the Amalfi Coast was quite fun. One thing that was like really amazing that I did last year was jet skied through, in Capri, there's those really big rocks that are very famous. They're
Oh
called the
yeah.
Faraglioni rocks. And
Yeah.
jet skied through there with this little girl and security on a different jet ski just to make sure
Oh
we're safe.
wow.
And we stopped so I could show her the back caves inside. There's like a tunnel that you can drive your boat through, drive your jet ski through, and to like admire that. And dinosaurs were living there, obviously a long time ago.
Yeah.
But things like that are super cool. I also
Yeah.
raced in the Rolex Regatta in Porto Cervo a few years ago, which is in Sardinia, and that was super cool. Like you would be shocked as to how close the helicopters who are filming the race get. Like I would have thought
Really?
that's too close because it would impact the wind when the boats are racing, but apparently not. I'm not a sailing
It's not.
expert. I like sailing, but I'm definitely no expert.
No. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's just like wow, pinch me. This is so cool. Yeah.
It's
When I think about these things, it just really makes me think I love my job so much.
yeah. That's nice because not a lot of people can say like I love my job. A lot of people are just tolerating their job, just getting by, but being able to say like I love my job, like that's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, completely. Like there's really tough times and things are like, oh man, this is just not easy. But
Yeah.
the positives outweigh the negatives a million times.
Yeah.
Well, I would say a major downfall of the work is that it's so seasonal. Like, basically,
Okay.
half of June, July, and August is work time. The rest, like I run the company Super Yacht Nanny, so I do coaching, I sell guides, I do job referrals and stuff.
Mm.
So I have other stuff to do throughout the year. I get to go on lovely podcasts like this. But yeah, like work time is such a excuse me, such a short stint.
But would you say like what would be like your biggest advice like to give someone who's trying to get into this type of work? Because I know it is very niche. Because I had never heard of it till I saw, like you said, you're a superhero. That's something I never heard of, and I'm sure many people kind of have no clue what the superhero nanny is. So, like, if they're trying to get in, what kind of advice would you give someone trying to enter this very niche field?
So if you want, my advice would be if you want to be on board a lot, go for like the stewardess or deck crew route and then find yourself a
Mm,
boat that is more child friendly. It's not a party boat. You've got a lot of water sports going on and it's attracting families. If you want to go the exclusively childcare route, you need to, like, as a kind of a bare minimum these days, you need to have 5 years of ultra high net worth nanny experience alongside some travel nannying. So
mm,
focus on those because they're like the stepping stones to get to these jobs. It's definitely not an overnight thing. And I would also say find me on social media because I share lots of tips and
mm.
advice on how to get there. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's really good advice because I know some people like listening. It's just something that at least you can have down and look into
yeah,
something that you
exactly. And
think
you
you're
never know
interested
where
in.
it's going to
Yeah,
take. Yeah,
yeah.
completely. Never know where it's
Because
going to
it's
take.
not a lot of people don't actually like know. I know during this time, especially if you're still in college or you're just finished college, you don't really know like what to do, like where am I supposed to get into. So it's just good to have an idea of like just to have a chat with other people and see what other people are kind of doing. So that's why I wanted to just like do this series just to have a chat with many different people because I know day to day a lot of people won't actually get to meet someone and have a chat with them and find out what they do. So just to get a glance into other people's lives and their career. So I'm really hoping these series kind of help you guys listening just to have a job of like something different, something else that you can do that's not a typical 9 to 5 style office job or like admin work because I know that's
Yeah.
a lot of people end up going into those routes because it's like they don't know what else that they can do.
I was just gonna say, I think that's so great. And like really there is so much opportunity out there. It
Yeah.
just can it can feel really hard to find it. Um, but stay true to yourself and don't just you don't have to just follow the crowd. Like there is space
Yeah.
for everybody out there. And my other thing to say would be there is opportunity in the niches. Like how the
Mm,
world is moving, things are getting so competitive. So find your corner and yeah, go for it.
yeah. Because when you first started, this just came into mind because I know when you first started, what are some of the challenges like you kind of faced that you weren't like expecting, like, oh, this is something I wasn't expecting to face.
That's a good question. Like, I think it actually kind of applies to life in general. I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
So like I sort of I didn't know nanny insurance was a thing. Like I
Oh,
know
I
I
I
knew I
did
had
not
to
know that.
have my police background check and my pediatric first aid, but I didn't know
Yeah.
nanny insurance was a thing. I learned, oh yeah, nanny insurance is a thing, not because I had an incident, but because my friends told me. And then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get nanny insurance. Yeah. I think also just remain professional at all times. Like
Mm.
everybody is watching you. Yeah, cool, party, have fun, do what you like in an appropriate frame of things,
Yeah.
but you never know who you're going to meet. So, like, don't burn bridges, don't make a
Yeah.
fool of yourself. I sound like the fun police right now,
Yeah.
but
Most
there's
definitely
so
do.
many
Yeah.
things that have like been like, oh, Ella, like we met at this event, and like it was really nice to meet you, and I need some help with this. Like, do you know someone, or could you do this? And like, yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I could. And because they saw me in a positive light, and I wasn't super crazy. Yeah,
Mm.
it happens.
That's yeah, because that
Yeah,
is that yeah, that
networking
is
is
something that we can
everything.
apply.
That's
Yeah.
actually such a good thing. Networking is everything and
Yeah.
work your networks. Like, if you are struggling with something, tell people. One, it's good
Yeah.
for your mental health. And two, by talking, you never know who knows something. Like,
Yeah.
so often someone will be like complaining to me about something. It's like, oh, actually, I know someone who I think might have your solution. And they were just sitting there having this issue that they didn't know how to get around.
Yeah,
But by speaking up and saying something, actually, solution might be right around the corner.
absolutely. Yeah, really. Because you never know unless you ask. Like there's a
Yeah,
saying, closed mouth don't get fed. Like you never know
exactly.
unless you
Exactly. I've never heard
speak
closed
up.
mouth doesn't get fed, but I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
I,
Like,
I heard that one a
seriously,
lot. Yeah,
speak up. And also, if things aren't right, speak up because
yeah,
it's so important. Please, please,
yeah,
please, please.
really. And just to end off on like a nice note, like where would you say is like one of the most luxurious, exotic places that you've kind of been in the role?
I feel like I've done like some of the most luxurious places in the world. I wouldn't say the south of France or Monaco.
Oh,
Yeah, I would say either the Amalfi Coast because it's still a bit more
mm,
rustic. It's commercial, but it's still a bit more rustic. Or I actually just really like the Bahamas.
really? That's really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Had a
Yeah,
really great time there. But like the bottom of course, or yeah, actually the bottom of Corsica, the top of Sardinia are incredible. Like they are known as the billionaires playground, but they are magnificently beautiful.
really. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
nice.
I'd love to do some trips to like French Polynesia or
Mm.
um Micronesia or the Galapagos. That would be super amazing.
Mm.
But people don't normally take their families, from my experience. They don't take their families. They're more like an adults trip. Yeah.
So there you guys have it. Hope you guys enjoyed the chat with Ella, the super yacht nanny. Hope you guys kind of took something from that, even if it's just something to look into later. Like, oh, okay, this is something that's interesting. Let me look into this. Even if it's just to help one person just to figure out a career that's not the usual, not the norm. So yeah, while I'm rounding up, I'll just hand over to Ella to kind of announce anything she has going on that she wants to share or her socials. I also have them below. But yeah, Ella, do you want to share anything you have coming up?
I just want to say thank you so much, Stephanie, for having me. It's been really, really lovely. I really hope this chat has been helpful to somebody. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM or an email or something. So my email is ella@superyachtnanny.co, not .co.uk, not .com. And then on like Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, everything, I am at superyachtnanny. And yeah, I'd love to hear what your thoughts on the conversation are.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, even if it was just something that's like, oh, just to have a listen to, even if you don't want to pursue, just to hear something that's
Exactly.
different or to share to your friends, just kind of see like scope out the scenery. You don't have to do the norm
Yeah,
jobs
yeah.
over and over. Just see what's out there because there are stuff that people are doing that you would never hear of. Because I had never heard of a super yacht nanny ever in my life before until like I met Ella and we had a chat about it. So just, you never know unless you just talk to people, network, see what other people are kind of doing, and then take that into consideration when you're looking towards like, what am I going to do? What am I going to spend my life doing to find something that like you love doing? Because it's nice to hear someone who like absolutely loves the job that they're doing. So yeah, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Don't forget to follow the show so you don't miss any new episodes. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye bye.